Hey everybody, it's Dr. Steve Hoffman, founder of the Core Wellness Institute, and thank you for your interest in reversing crossed posture syndrome. And you know, this whole idea of crossed posture syndrome, I've talked about it over and over. If you've been following me on YouTube and the blog and such, I've been talking about this since, online since 2010. I've been using it in my practice since 1998, where I was fortunate enough to be brought up, so to speak, in the school of the Prague school, which is it's a different idea than just getting adjusted over and over and over again by a chiropractor. It's the idea of fixing the problem to begin with by rehabilitating movement programs, which is just software in your mind, software in your brain, rehabilitating movement programs so that you don't keep getting your joints out of alignment where you need to get them back into alignment. Hey, let's just get them back into alignment ourselves and keep them that way. Right? Then we use chiropractic and manual therapy and stuff like that to keep us optimized, right? But not to keep digging us out of holes. Make sense? Okay. Well, let me give you a little background about where I got this big old messy board here. I'm going to go through this whole process of showing you how stress causes these patterns and where they came to be to begin with, right? So here's number one, stress. Where does stress come from? Stress comes from anything. Comes from a thought, comes from nutrition, comes from pain, comes from, let's go through three things, right? One is there's a third of us who go through neurodevelopment and don't go through it perfectly, right? Sometimes we come out of it and we come out of the chute by the time we're 4 years old is when we should have this perfect upright posture and perfect movement patterns, but then we start getting into desks and school and computers and all that stuff, and we get pulled into what you would see, in a nursing home, or you would see with someone with cerebral palsy, or a polio, or a stroke victim, where these patterns like this tend to manifest themselves. Okay, but unfortunately, 1/3 of us, like I was saying, when we go through development, 1/3 of us are already kind of tending that way. Now there's a continuum, right? It's not like everybody comes out like this, they call them central coordination dysfunction, or I call it CPS. That's the language out of Prague is CPS, crossed posture syndrome, upper cross and lower cross posture. But all of that, stress is what causes it. Stress causes the buzz and causes the internal rotation. 1/3 of us come out of the chute, not developed perfectly. We're preloaded for trouble, right? The rest of it comes from thoughts, emotions, self-talk, all that kind of stuff. Pain, nociception, that's what I've talked about that. Pain draws us into it. And actually culture and habits, the idea of keeping our belly button pulled in, right, is against core stability. It's against human we want to keep a pressurized container in our center, not a hollowed container. Hollowing creates a kind of a lift, and it brings our center of gravity up versus down. Okay? Are you uptight, or are you down and relaxed? See the difference there? I can do this, keep good posture this way, or I can do the second one's a lot more natural and relaxed. It's organic. That's what it is. That's what this is. Organic posture versus man-made posture. So the stress it causes these stress-induced muscle imbalances. Or I call it CPS, cross-posture syndrome. And again, the same pattern as a CP, polio, stroke. This is the predictable. Very predictable. And that's what's cool about it is you can design a program to offset it, pay the tissue debt. So that's what the Reverse CPS Now program is. That's what the Core Wellness Institute is all about. Reversing this stuff. It's the only program designed to do that, by the way. Deep core amnesia happens. Here, let me put this back on so I don't mark myself up. Deep core amnesia. What is deep core amnesia? Deep core amnesia occurs whenever we get into these stress patterns. Okay? Whenever we get in, we get uptight and we lose our natural deep core system. Right? The deep core system comes from, all we have to do is push away from support points, and we create this nice low rib cage and this nice easily pressurized container in our center. We're nice and strong in our center, right? But when we get uptight, we lose that ability to reconnect with that. Okay? And that's what deep core. We lose our deep core. We lose our proper breathing patterns. We lose our ability to connect our back support zone. And if you've been through the blog, you know what the back support zone is and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into that here. But you lose that. deep core amnesia. We lose our center. A lost center. And literally, guys, this is not just about losing your center physically. When you lose your body center, it's that mind-body thing. It's the same thing. Then your brain is less centered. So many people, whenever they learn this stuff, they feel like, I've got so much, I feel so much more centered and calm. Right? Makes sense? So, we lose our center. We lose our grounding. This is our grounding, right? That ability to have our nice, relaxed, low rib cage and this natural feeling of being just basically weightless, right? By pushing down, by the rib cage going down and the diaphragm going down, we get the benefit of also feeling weightless, because when you push down, what's a rocket? How does a rocket go up? It pushes down and then it goes up. So we get this rooted and this push-away system then makes us feel light and relaxed. It's not such a struggle. When everything's in line, gravity comes through us and we can use it and recycle it for energy and spring. So we get our groundedness back, right? And what happens next? So these muscle imbalances, whenever your body is set up like let's just use this upward motion right here, right? If your body is kind of set up in general to be a shrug, like when you raise your arm, you tend to use your shoulder here to lift up rather than your shoulder blade going down and not having a nice movement pattern like that, then you're going to cause overload, trigger points, pain in your neck. So dysfunctional movement patterns ensue whenever you have these patterns to begin with, because this guy's already tight from breathing, because every time you take a breath, you breathe up and down like this. So 14 to 22 times every single minute, you're taking a breath, and you're overloading your upper trapezius muscle. No, so what's going to happen whenever you start to reach? Hey, it's already on, so it's going to help. Okay? You're going to lose the connection, this connection. When you lose that connection, you remain uptight. You remain in pain. You remain aging more quickly. Biologically aging, I'm assuming. You know, the biological age increases. You know, what looks more youthful? This or this? Okay? You've got to reconnect with that, and that's what this is all about. All right? So the arm raising and the reaching, that becomes a problem. Breathing is a movement pattern, like I talked about. You lose it, right? You lose the proper breathing pattern, and therefore, and that's the other thing. Whenever you're uptight and you breathe like this, you're telling the nervous system, you're telling your brain there's something wrong. You're under stress. You're under a load here, right? So whenever you do that and you get everything down low, your brain says, "Oh, everything's okay. I don't have to be stressed. I don't have to, do all the things that stress physiology does, like it burns sugar for fuel instead of fat. It demineralizes your bone, right? Literally pulls minerals out of your bone. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is a steroid. It's the same thing. It's 4 times stronger, like a cortisone shot. They shoot it in why can't you get more than 3 cortisone shots? Or they tell you shouldn't get more than 3 cortisone shots because it eats away your bone. Stress hormone does the same thing, right? So we want to stay away from this stress physiology. We want to be a fat-burning, calm physiology versus a stressed-out, sugar-burning physiology that's getting their bones demineralized. It depresses your immune system. It's just, cardiovascular disease, stress-induced disease. Look it up. It causes everything. Why not live with peace physiology? And that's the idea. Peace, one of the goals. I wrote some goals up here. Where's my peace physiology? Oh, I didn't even put it there. Find your center. Find your deep core system. Find centration. We're going to find centration is that place where the joints are in their happy place, right? Centration, this is out of centration. Okay, I'm overloading. This is centrated. Now I can bear load. I can transmit force through that joint. It is also the place where the nervous system goes into a calming state. When the body's like this, it thinks something's wrong and it sends a buzz through the system. Nociception creates sympathetic overload, which is the fight or flight response. Your body is constantly running from a tiger on a low level, right? Why not open that back up? Centrate equals calm. Centrate equals good, efficient movement. Okay, centration. Of course, I talked about breathing. We're going to teach you how to breathe functionally. We're going to get your muscles back in balance so you don't have this forward draw. And you can only see my upper body here. We have also lower body problems, but most of this actually, the biggest problem I see is right here. the ability for the thoracic spine to move down as our shoulder moves up. And that goes through, we go through the neurodevelopmental process of pushing away, and that fixes itself organically. All right, and there it is, the push away intention. I've said that several times. So, the first thing we have to do is we get into that baby back position, like you may have seen in the preliminary information at the blog. We have to make that connection. Okay, and I'll link to something about the deep. If you haven't seen that, there'll be something on this page where you can go back and look at that back support zone stuff, so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, but we push away from our original support points, and that creates perfect, efficient movement. Right? So when we're a baby, the first support point we push away from, or the most important one, is the back support zone. There's the front support zone when we lay on our belly. We push away from here. That's first. So you get that down, and then you start imagining pushing away from your hands, pushing away from your feet, and that sense of pushing away automatically creates your organic posture, because that's the way you developed to begin with. So we get you really in touch with that. That's one of the big keys. Back into the little flow chart here. So we know we're going to have dysfunctional movement patterns, and those dysfunctional movement patterns eventually do what? They cause tissue damage. Right? If I keep moving my arm up and down like this with improper movement patterns, I'm eventually going to develop trigger points in these muscles, and I'm going to develop overload on my neck. And you're going to eventually create damaging arthritis. Right? Your body's going to start laying down more bone, and that's where arthritis is. Okay, but why not clean up your movement patterns now and avoid the problems down the line? So, tissue damage. And when you have tissue damage, what do you have? Your body says, oh, something's wrong with the tissue. It gives you a pain response, right? And when you have pain, right, then you're afraid to move. You get fear. Fear's on board. So pain and fear, all of it, and then what's that mean? You're back to stress, and you're in this cycle. Got to break this cycle. That's what the course is all about. Let me see if there's anything else here for you. Like I said, there's 1/3 of us who have this out of the chute at 4 years old. So if you know that even as a kid you had these troubles, very important to become aware of how you can become more functional. We may not change your bony anatomy in the next year, but we're going to change how you can function. We can change the way the nervous system works. Okay. What else? Problems. You got excessive pain, decreased energy, you got stress-induced diseases like I talked about. And basically, guys, whenever we go and try to do a gym workout, right, and we have these patterns in place, these crossed posture, we have deep core amnesia, we go and start trying to work out like we're going to lose weight, right? We get in a weight loss program. We start doing these things. If we have these imbalances to begin with, and we start doing this exercise on top of it, we may do great for a little while. We may build up some metabolism. We may even actually lose some weight, right? Because we're putting on muscle, we're challenging the heart. But what's going to happen eventually? That's right. You're going to overload. If you're doing exercises like this, eventually your neck's going to start hurting you. It's going to be in pain. And then you're going to be kind of dependent on ibuprofen. I can't miss my workout, so I've got to use ibuprofen or Tylenol or whatever you're going to use. And that's going to eat up your gut, and it's going to cause leaky gut, and then you're going to have all kinds of trouble down the line. So why not get it cleaned up now? Start moving. I call it the Do This First program. It's basically what we're looking at here. We want to do this first. We want to learn how to use your body organically. We learn how to use good, efficient movement patterns, decrease the stress, decrease the buzz, and start living with stress. Peace physiology. That's what it's all about.